Like, you have to be like good at your job, know what to do, but you also have to be just a good person to work with. Then that sets up this precedent of like, all right, this might be a shit show. But also realizing that this is why communicating everything, even if you think it's not important, fucking do it. So we mentioned knowing the gear, knowing how to use it. But again, the other like 50% of the job, or 33.3%, because like it's like divided into 3. But like you have to be like good at your job, know what to do, but you also have to be just a good person to work with. Because if you're an asshole, but you're good at what you do, people can tolerate you, but they would prefer to work with somebody else.
That's why I tell Emmanuel all the time.
Yo, can you stop being such a... No, that...
Pod is over. I will point it out.
No, but I think on every episode we always end up bringing it up.
Every time.
It's such a big deal to be like... It's with everything, just being a pleasant person.
Yeah.
It's just, I think that's number one when you look for somebody. But then, yeah, you know, if they're great, but their audio's garbage, you're like, I want to have you on set, but...
Yeah, you have to have both.
Mm-hmm.
I would say more important to be a good coachable person, because skills can be learned, but your intrinsic value, that's on you, bro. Like, if you're an asshole, then you're just an asshole. You can't learn to be a good person. I mean, God help you in changing, but like... You know, but if it's just like a small skill issue, like, oh, you just didn't turn your gain up, that's a small fix. You know to do that next time. You know what I mean? But so going back to what you said, knowing the setups, how to do all this. So on a technical side, there's a lot of facets to it, but I guess the word of the day today is facets. But there's a lot of like elements and variables to it, but it's set up the same pretty much. Like once you get into your rhythm, it's rinse and repeat, no matter what the project is. If you show up to a narrative, I scan for frequencies. Like obviously you want to unload all your gear, have everything just laid out and know what you need. Cut all of that. Let's start back from the beginning. When choosing to do a setup for a project, I always like to think and ask questions, a bunch of questions first. What am I getting myself into? Because at first, when I was getting into this whole scene, I would just take whatever job because I want to get started. But like now, as I do this more and more, let me know all the information up front. Do we know what to expect? Is this run and gun? Is this ENG? Is this interviews? B-roll? Narrative? What? Like conference? Like sometimes I don't even do film. It's just something completely different, but they need my audio expertise. And it's like, these skills are transferable, but what are we going to do? So whenever I get a project, my first question is, what is it? What's the call sheet? What if we get one, you know, soon enough? What's the script if I can get it? And they don't always have that information. That's fine, but then that sets up this precedent of like, all right, this might be a shit show, you know, and I have to prepare for that too. So what does a shit show even mean? That probably means we're going to be rushing a lot. And rushing is so bad because that's where mistakes tend to happen. If you don't have a good first AD who's like, or like a DP, just whoever's the showrunner for your project that's making sure everything that needs to get done gets done, those are so important. If you don't have that, the smallest things can be just get left behind. So let me finish this thought about how I get my subs first, and I'll tell you an example of how that can fuck me too if I'm not prepared correctly. So I'll ask questions, find out what I'm getting myself into, prep my gear the night before, just have everything charging just laid out because I don't want to forget a single thing. I've made way too many mistakes where I figured maybe I don't need it, it'd be bulky, or I don't want to risk losing it, so I'm not going to bring it, and I needed it. So I don't mess with it anymore. I just bring everything minus the things I know I'm not going to use. So if we're doing sit-down interviews, I don't need to bring my big-ass Apple box. I love it, but it's huge and it weighs like 20 pounds. So I don't probably need to bring that. And I also have like this big rig cart now where I can work on top of, and it's really convenient. Because a lot of times I would show up to a set and there wouldn't be a table, so I can't get my mics out, I can't get set up. And little inconveniences like that can set me back a few minutes because now I'm wasting time just looking where to set my shit up and get things out. Knowing what kind of project I am getting into ahead of time can help me save all of that. Do I bring the big rig or do I just come with a bag? Are we working like super fast? So the example I have though is we were doing interviews one day with these people And then the guy show running, it was just 2 cam ops and me and a PA. So it wasn't like a big thing, but we finished our first interviews of the day. And then the showrunner tells me like, all right, so tomorrow's going to be a faster run and gun sort of day. But that's all I know. So I'm like, okay, bet. So we're just going to move faster tomorrow. Not knowing that they wanted to roll first thing at call time the next day, which to me is unheard of. Call time means you show up a little earlier than that time and you set up, not roll by that time. And like camera guys can do that, at least they could, because they were like on smaller, just pre-rigged cameras. I can't do that. If you want good, clean audio, I'm going to have to set something up. I'm going to probably have to scan for frequencies if you want to make sure that we're not going to get RF hits or something. We don't need to do that, but it's like, it's a risk. You know what I mean? It's like, am I going to risk giving you possibly muddier audio, but be faster or what? And so I didn't come prepared for that to shoot at call time. I show up, I pull all my gear out, I'm getting ready, and they're like, all right, let's go. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm just pulling out my gear now. I still have to set up time code for you guys. I got to scan for frequencies to make sure we don't get those hits. I got to find out what we're even doing in here. Oh, we're just doing B-roll. So why the fuck are you asking me to lob him? He's in a gym. Why are we lobbing someone who's not even talking? All that could have been is just, hey, just get a boom out. That's it. But without asking those proper questions, without really knowing what is happening, I'm not going to be ready for that. I'm like, yes, that is my fault. That is on me. I can ask more questions, but also realizing that this is why communicating everything, even if you think it's not important, fucking do it. Please do. Because if the moment you assume something will get done, it won't, and it'll fall on you or someone else, and just shit will hit the fan. And it's happened too many times. Did you bring this thing? No, I didn't. Why didn't anyone ask me to? And it's happened before on a different set where I won't say who the client is because they're one of my repeat clients, but they usually... So we mentioned that typically it's expected that you supply the gear, right? But with this client, they always supply the gear. It's just at this point, because that's been the precedence, I assumed that that's going to always be the case. They're going to bring the gear with them. I show up to set and they don't have the gear. And the DP asked me, like, where's your gear? I'm like, I don't have it. I checked all the emails. It never said for me to bring it. He's like, well, you should always ask if you need to bring gear. I'm like, motherfucker. I do. Just not with you guys because you've never needed my gear before. And only now, when it's my fault, this one time I didn't ask. Okay, now you guys needed it. And it looks bad on me. But it's like...
And it's such because then it goes back on you. But it's even like when we're repeat clients. It's like, damn, how many times like, okay, I'm gonna ask you. You're gonna say no, you don't need to. And then it gets to that point where it's like, I'm not gonna ask. And the moment you say that, they need it.
Exactly.
But yeah, it still ends up falling back on you, and it's such a headache.